So
but it's a lot to why we weren't having it over here. But we ain't gonna talk about.
But none of that even matters, man.
I mean, it does matter.
Yeah, none of that matters for this conversation.
Not for the purposes of this conversation, but like you can't say that it doesn't matter because it do
none of it
matter.
matters now. None of it matters for this conversation.
All right.
The point of this conversation is about co-parenting and blended families.
So you didn't want to date me because I had a child.
I ain't say that. I never said that.
You did. You told me that later on.
No. I questioned if I wanted to deal with the baby daddy drama. Like, I didn't know if there would be. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
so I grew up in the hood.
Okay.
So everybody who had baby mamas had baby mama drama. Anybody who had baby daddies had baby daddy drama.
Okay.
I wanted none of them.
All right.
I wanted to be stress free in that area. But also, the insecurities of it too. Like, I feel like that's like this bond, you know what I'm saying, that you have with that person. And it's like, I don't really want to compete with the bond of having had someone who had a kid with someone. Because, to go through the act of having a kid with someone, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of just, I know we got a lot of people who just have kids, willy-nilly and stuff. But generally to allow someone to intimately do that with you and then keep it and decide to have the baby means to me that like there's a lot of love, there's a lot of attraction, there's a lot there. So like my thing, do I want to enter into that space and be involved in it where I have to worry about that or think about like
you get that enter into that space for you married folks?
Do I want to deal with that, right? Because my thing is you have to like it's pretty much saying like, hey, the ex that you have is going to be in our lives for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. Versus the other exes, like, none of my exes are in our lives. We don't talk to none of them exes. We ain't got to talk to none of them exes. And the other exes who you didn't have kids with, right, they're nowhere to be found. So, but when you have a kid with someone, that ex has to continuously be in their life. Mm-hmm. I mean, they can call middle of the night about the kid. They can call at any point in time to have conversations. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what that conversation is. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what memories, and if you're having a struggle in marriage. We don't know if they're talking about any of that stuff.
So when you found out I had a kid, so go back to when we first met at the probation office. That's where we met. You said God told you I was going to be your wife. At that time, you didn't know I had a kid. So walk me through like some of your thoughts when you found out like she got a kid. Like, oh wait, you didn't say she was going to have a kid.
No,
There
was actually a disconnect, right? So like when you got engaged, I've eliminated the fact that you was my wife. I was like, all right, probably not going to be my wife. Whatever. So by the time I found out you had a kid, it was around that same time. Remember, this happened like 3 months after.
I thought you knew I had a kid because remember we had talked on the phone before I got there.
That you had a kid?
Yeah. Because remember we up until the time I got back.
I think maybe it didn't click for me then.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think it really clicked for me that you had a kid.
Because he was still living with his father in another city. I came up here for the job alone.
Yeah, so they didn't really feel it, but like. I think maybe I just can't remember that, but the earliest remembrance I have is like 3 months or so after I met you, and then also like by the time I finally met Nate, by the time I finally met him, like, we were just like platonic friends,
right.
So it was like, it ain't nothing to do with me. I'm Uncle Lee, it don't matter. It don't matter, and nothing to do with me, right? So. I wasn't really even concerned with it at all. So as far as like whether or not it affected anything, it didn't really matter. But it did affect when it was like, okay, we started to get a little more serious now. We're starting to kind of wonder like, okay, are we going to take this relationship to the next like level? Right. I had to really consider, do I want to deal with that? Like truly, I had to think about that.
So what moment did you say to yourself like, okay, I'm going to deal with it and I'm going to propose? Like, when did you accept that it was going to be what it is?
I mean, I think we kind of both knew around the time. I mean, I think before, like, it was the summer when we started dating and everything. Or summer we started kind of hanging out a lot more. And I think right before summertime, like, I was picking up Nate from school because we was always together then because we had our business together. So I was always already picking him up all the time. And it started to kind of feel like, oh, we're a little family. Right?
Yeah.
It kind of feel like we're a little family already. Like helping them with homework. Trying to help them with homework because you know how it be. We try to help kids with homework, but trying to help them out and everything, and then picking them up and dealing with. Even at this point, now having teachers tell me about his discipline and stuff. I was like, oh, cause we pretty much a family now. So I realized too. One, the biggest thing, honestly though, was the fact that like his dad wasn't like you know,
his dad wasn't a douchebag.
Well, yeah, and also that there was that distance. Like he lived
in
there,
another city,
and we lived here.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so it's like, okay, well, I'm never going to really deal with this. Yeah. You can just pop up on the house, this and that. So I think when I kind of actually saw the actual inner workings of the relationship itself as a friend, and then as we were dating, it was like, oh, this doesn't really matter to me that much.
Right. No threat when you didn't feel threatened by it.
Yeah. Not really. Like I wouldn't say threatened. I didn't
Why you say
threatened.
not really? What's that?
No, I would say I didn't feel because it's not not threatening thing. It's more like, okay, so do I still have like an insecurity there? That's still like a male ego thing a little bit there.
Is it like because this dude had my woman?
Yeah, because like it's a constant reminder, like because it is a constant reminder. You look at the kid, right, and it's like this kid is a constant reminder that this person, you know, had relations with my significant other, in a very intimate level enough to have had a kid. Like it's an instant reminder of that, right? So it takes some time and like mental to be like, you know, maybe it's not that big a deal. But with me, I had a lot of insecurities then, you know. I had a lot of insecurities about myself and things.
So you thought like that maybe I would mess around with him again, or
I feel like it was not. I feel like it was always a door that could be open. You know what I'm saying? Because it's again, like I told you, like I had no idea what that bond felt like.
So do you feel like that now? Do you feel like that door is still open?
No, not really.
What's the?
What's not really?
Yo, what's all these?
Not really. Hey, listen. I'm a very logical person, so I don't like to speak in absolutes. I don't like to speak in like, oh, you know, am I 99% sure? Yeah. But is there a 1% like, hey, I don't know, man. You might have a day. You know, you might have a day.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna drive.
You might have a day. You like, man, he getting on my nerves, man. I don't know. I hope not.
No, that chapter is closed. But so co-parenting has been better than what you thought it would be. From the perception
so as of right now,
with the other parent.
As of right now, co-parenting is a lot easier than I thought it would be. From the perspective of like, oh, it's not as, it depends. Like I was like starting now, like as of like, oh, if you look at today's season. Over the years though,
he's been back and forth with us over time. So he's been with us in our city.
Years he lived with us,
it was more challenging.
It's been harder.
Yeah. What's made it hard?
Well, you know how kids be, especially when in the very beginning of our relationship. You know, he still wanted his parents to be together. Yeah. So you know, is that gonna be that weirdness of like, oh, like when I was just Mr. Lee, the friend. We were super cool.
Who told you he wanted his parents?
He told me this. He told me.
He never told me that.
He never told you, but me and had a relationship where he told me. He literally told me this summer, that summer that we had him and his cousin. He told me then. And he used to be, man, I used to hate when y'all had the door closed in the room with the door closed, and he used to be knocking on the wall, knocking on the wall.
I remember that.
Can I get some oatmeal? Knocking on the wall, right? So, you know, he told me transparently that, you know, he did, but he, you know, realized he was kind of like, all right, it's not gonna happen. He kind of let it go, and now it's really a thing that kind of made me think like, oh, if the kid realizes it's not gonna happen, that gave me a little bit even more security. Oh yeah, in the relationship because like,
they're not seeing nothing
because he ain't even
on
seeing
the side
or
anything like that.
You know, because kids be slick. You know, if they know something, they be like, all right, you ain't gonna be that long because you know she talked to my dad. You know, you never know.
That's true.
But you know, he told me that.
So now you feel a little bit more secure in our co-parenting relationship that we have with Nate's father. Tell me about how it is to actually co-parent, like to be the stepfather of Nate, or the bonus father, or Nate being your bonus son. Share it and transparently, like keep it raw.
Listen, man.
From when he's with us, when he's not.
The teenage years have been the most challenging. Prior to teenage years, me and Nate had a very good relationship. I would say we hung out all the time. We go to the movies, play video games. I always had him with me when I was doing real estate. Like constantly with me all the time, right? You know, we were trying new foods, stuff together. We had a very close relationship.
Right.
Something kind of clicked for him around puberty in middle school. So, you know, I kind of became the male figure that he wanted to, like, I guess, push back on. Right. And so, you know, since he had entered teenage years in that puberty with us, you know, it became this thing like, oh, is it a me thing? So it kind of became like, oh, there's this
him and I
tension.
Started like having tension.
Yeah, like, there's this tension between me and Nate. And then that caused tension between me and her. Yeah. Because, you know, and I'm trying to tell her, like, hey, no, it's just that he's smelling himself now. It's natural for them to go after the other male figure, to challenge the other male figure in the house. So it wasn't until we actually moved to Texas and he had to go and stay with his dad, that I think that it was revealed, no, like he's trying him too. Like this is the teenage years.
Yeah.
And for me, it was kind of like, see, I tried to tell y'all, man, but it was looking like, oh, I'm just so mean.
It wasn't.
It did feel like I feel like he would tell you all these stuff, but
he
Mr.
never
Lee tells
told
me too much stuff.
He never told me that you were mean.
Mr. Lee asked me to do too much.
My son is, he's not how can I say? Like it takes a lot for him to be able to process.
You can't tell him too many things. You can't tell him too many things
at one time, and that's just like the kind of child I have. His attention span is very short, and he gets very overwhelmed if he's given too many tasks. Right. So Lee is someone who can multitask quite a bit, over and over and over again, and I think that his expectation was so high that like when Nate wasn't responding to that, I think he would get frustrated by it. I truly do. And my son has a mouth. He experienced some behavior things in school. Like, I mean, he still gets in trouble for talking too much or talking back. So I think trying to parent him, you coming on with a challenge, and I would say more of a challenging teenager, not by far any of the worst teenagers. He's not a bad kid.
He just got a mouth.
He's got a mouth. He's headstrong, and he kind of got a little bit of
he's real stubborn.
My personality when I was his age. So like I could see that in him. But
so like for me though, I think like from my perspective, it was like, okay, my expectations of him. My thing was, I feel like it was getting viewed as if I'm being hard on him because he's my bonus son, because he's not my biological son. Oh, you're being like that on him. Like, it's like, oh, there's this step thing, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like, no, these are the expectations that I would have on anybody that is in my house that I'm raising and providing for.
But I didn't feel that way.
I was like, for me, like if I'm paying for you to eat, I'm dressing you in my house, I give you a place to stay, then my expectations is that when I tell you to do something, like take the trash out, etc., that there should be no qualms there. I should be allowed to tell you if you're in my house.
I get that part, but I felt like that, like you would tell him to do these things, and then like I felt like y'all could have built a better relationship when he was with us.
I think that
I feel like some of the things that y'all didn't really have a lot in common. Like, so I felt like he's a very outdoor person. He likes to play football and all that, and I felt like you didn't want to do that. Like, I feel like y'all things that you guys like didn't kind of come together.
But it used to.
No. It used to when he was little. But
when he was smaller, we loved to watch movies together. We loved to hang out.
But as he got older, it started to change. And I know it's not necessarily like your job to change with him, but I feel like he's a child, and children don't know what's best for them, and they don't know how to like navigate those years. They think they do. They talk like they do.
Definitely talk like they do.
They talk like they do, but at the end of it, they don't really know what's best for them. And I say that because like my sister, like, we're not the closest, but she left the house at a certain age, and she thought she knew what she wanted at that age. And then as she became an adult, she got upset and she held resentment towards family members saying that, why did y'all let me leave the house? I was only 14. I didn't know what was best for me. So to hear an adult say that and see their life spiral, then to hear, to then try to help my son navigate what's best for him. Like, I just think that we can't take it personal, and we just kind of gotta.
So I don't even think it's even personal. I think that if I am trying to give you the direction that you need to help you get there, because you don't know, but you push back on everything I say, and it comes off as like Mr. Lee is mean.
But it has to be positive reinforcement, right? So for every 3 or 4 positives, then you can give like a negative, because unfortunately that is psychology. So
what I found was even better than all that, honestly, was just switching to not your kid parenting, right?
Yeah.
So we switched to that. Like, I think, like, I was reading online a lot of stuff, and I was like, I gotta figure out how to navigate this a little bit better in a way that's not stressful for me and not causing tension between me and my wife. Mm-hmm. And what I found was that it really was just like, if it came from me, it was like, it's negative, it's bad, it's mean. But if it came from his mom or it came from his dad, it's like, that's my parents, you know what I mean? Like, he could see that differently.
So if he wanted him to do something, he'll just say.
I would tell her to tell him.
He'll tell me that. He'll ask me to ask him.
Let her handle the discipline. Obviously, I won't let him disrespect me directly.
Yeah, and he does.
But if it's like things that I need him to do in the house, like he has some chores, I would make the list. I give it to her. I would tell her, just pretty much let her handle it. Because at the end, even if even though I am providing for him, even though he's my child, in the end, for him, it's still going to be this disconnect between you're not my daddy, right? Because he has a dad who's very involved in his life. Versus, I think if it had been like, oh, he had no dad involved in his life, and I was the dad, I think we'd have had a different approach to it. But it's like, here I am, I'm trying to come into this place where he has a very close relationship with his father already, and a close relationship with his mom, and there's just this other man, this other extra person, But Nate knows to come to me for certain things. Like certain things he
does. Like
listen, if ever he need anything financially, or he needed business advice or something like that, it's always a Mr. Lee thing, or something about the Bible.
Yeah.
He asked me about that.
Yeah, he does.
So the relationship is there. I just think that we're in that weird phase of like teenage years where he was like, a rush of puberty, a rush of hormones. Because even now, I think now that he's 15, I think we're kind of on the back end of it now, where he's maturing. We're kind of coming out of that season where, he has to have the last word on everything.
Right.
He's not as moody. Back then he had a lot of like moody, moments and mood swings. I think it's just because like it's a lot to handle when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work actually. And I'm not into that in a sarcastic way. I do think that like from a,
no,
from a psychology
is.
way, is a lot of changes, especially if you have the ability to just be a kid.
Yeah.
Me as a teenager and you as a teenager, we didn't get to just be kids. Like there's responsibilities as a teenager, man. I was grinding as a teenager. So
what about like blended? So we talked about co-parenting, but like the blended family part.
Yeah. So that part. So that I think I'm spoiled in the fact that like everything's so far removed in a sense where it's not constantly in my face, right?
But you did have an issue with like, and I don't know if you still have that issue. You had an issue with the closeness that you felt like I had with our son's grandma on his dad's side, and his uncles and stuff. So do you still feel some way about that?
Nah, I kind of accepted it as is, but if what
so
you're
how
referring
did you
to,
feel? Yeah,
like,
about
what you're
that.
referring to is like when we first got married and everything. I always had this in my mind. Like, I have a small family. My mom, my sister. That's all I'm really close to. And I always, imagine this like close knit family. Like my mom, her, my sister, everyone just like loving each other, etc. But it was like she had this super close relationship with Nate's parents. With Nate's family, that side of the family, the blacks, right? He had a close relationship, and it was almost like they were the in-laws. It's like like she had this relationship with them, like they love each other. It's grandma, that's sister, that's brother. There's this super close relationship that already existed. Right. So then like you're like the outsider kind of coming into this space where it's like, all right, you only have like this, like it's only your mom, your sister, and then like her, right? Like that's my family, that's my unit. I didn't have that other extended family. So I feel like that the outsider kind of coming into like, hey, now I'm raising this, helping raise, this other kid who you've all had a relationship with for so many years already, and the whole family thing, so many memories, right? So like you be in situations where they're talking about, oh man, Rissa, remember that time, this and that. And it's like you don't have nothing to add to the conversation. So it do kind of make you feel some kind of way. You're like, yo, I was not here for any of this stuff. So it's like so I can't connect with them, or like I can't connect with you in these things because I wasn't there.
I actually feel like you connected with like Brandon and Boston quite a bit.
I can connect with anybody. I can have a good conversation with anybody. But like when
I feel like they like you a lot.
Yeah, I think they had to have the one-on-one, but it's like a group of people talk about. It's like man, we used to work at probation, and I go to lunch with all the probation officers. I'm not a probation officer. So all y'all talk about is y'all cases. Yeah. All y'all talk about is what y'all been doing in y'all job. And I'm sitting there like, well, I crunched some numbers today. Yeah. No one cares to hear my experience. So like, I'm trying to add to the conversation, but I can't. Yeah. It's no different than that. So I think it took a lot. It took a lot navigating. I think a lot of people have that experience. I think who are in blended families where you have to be okay with the fact that there's this ex that's going to be around.
So forever. I do want to clean up something though, because so just a little bit of the history. My oldest son, his father and I, we were dating when we were like teenagers. So we were like 16 or like 17 and 18, I believe. So we were pretty young. So it's almost like we all grew up together, and so that's how that closeness happened. But then over time, we just grew apart and became, you know, people in different chapters of books. And then we went our separate ways. I went to college. He was doing what he was doing, and it just didn't work out. So that closeness he saw was kind of the fact that, like, we grew up together. We grew up, you know, not having everything and, like, in the hood together. So that's what he saw. And then not only that, when I got pregnant with my son Nate, like, I was still in college, so I needed a lot of help and support with babysitting, and they were there to step up so that I was able to finish college on time. So that is that closeness that he's referring to.
Yeah, so, like, you know, but you know, for me, it's like, it's my wife, and it's our family now, right? So that territorialness of, like, as a man, of like this is my spouse,
right?
You know, like, so the good memories gonna be with me now. You know, it's a new season.
No, I hear what you're saying, but, like, think about, like, exes or somebody who you were close with that you dated in the past that, like, it might have not ended bad or whatever, but if you heard that they needed something, or if they were hurt, or if they was harmed, or if you heard something bad happen to them, you would care.
Would I care?
Yeah, you would care.
Maybe. You know. But, like, would I be involved? Nah.
No, I'm not saying. I didn't say be involved.
So that's the
but
difference.
It doesn't like the care. No, but that the care that you have for a family and the appreciation that you have for somebody being there for you, it don't stop because you get married.
My thing is this, though, right? So what you're talking about is exes, right? But we don't have no connection to none of these exes.
Right.
But when you have a child with one of those exes, then that is an official permanent connection.
So that's what.
So it's permanent. So you caring is nothing. Like, oh, you caring about the person, etc. But they're always going to be around.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, my one of my exes having a problem with their family, there's no reason they're gonna call me. We don't have a relationship.
I know, but what I'm saying is, because you're saying, well, yeah, that's that you're my family now, but I'm saying it doesn't shut off because
I understand, but I'm telling you what my mind was.
Though. Oh yeah.
My mind was that, all right, now it's like it's us, like, time to start some new memories.
Yeah.
Because, like, all that memory, all that closure you have, with, like, now I want you to have that with me. You know what I'm saying? I want us to have that.
So what's preventing us from having that?
So then coming from where our first 2 years of marriage, we're talking about coming from what our first 2 years or 3 years of marriage were, being that, you know, it was challenging seasons for us. Us having our challenging seasons, and then me seeing you have such positive interactions with these other people, and I'm praying and hoping for our positive interactions with our family, because even our families coming together and merging took time. You know, like, it was a lot of awkwardness and things that would kind of be in the beginning, and now here we are. You know, it's a lot better. Like, now everyone's close, everyone's good. But year 1,
2, 3, 4.
year 2, 3, you know, that stuff like that. It was, you know, all I see is that, man, she had such a close relationship with her ex, and, like, you know, her ex's family,
not him, his family,
and the family, you know, but it's like that closeness there, and it's like, but, like, we're not having that over here. So but
it's a lot to why we weren't having it over here, but we ain't gonna talk about.
But none of that even matters, man.
I mean, it does matter.
Yeah, none of that matters for this conversation.
Not for the purposes of this conversation, but, like, you can't say that it doesn't matter, because it do
none of it
matter.
matters now. None of it matters for this conversation.
All right.
The point of this conversation is about co-parenting and blended families.
So then why?
So being, like, my side of the family, like, being my family, your family, that's not blending, right? Like, that's the family. That's by marriage. So the blend is, you know, my bonus son and his family. So we're talking about that. That's the blended. But that's what makes us a blended family, is the addition of the third party family. Yeah. Right. That isn't combined or unionized through covenant.
Yep.
So, and you see now, right? Like, you know, so that's why it's been best for us, I would say, to kind of take the natural, you know, approach to things, and to kind of almost like we just kind of let her handle a lot of that stuff. Let her handle those interactions, you know, and also us having that distance really, I think, helps a lot as well. To where it's like, hey, we live here, they live there, and there's that distance there. So listen, everyone has their own experience. You know, we're still navigating being a blended family. You know, and transparently, we're still navigating that. Like, we haven't perfected it. So if you have advice, if you have a blended family, you know, you
what's worked for y'all?
Just let us know what works for you, because we want to improve, and I want to improve in this area.
Yeah,
it's important to me.
Yeah,
it's important to me that we have a closer knit family, because it's gonna be our family for life.
It is, and we'll talk about family in another video.